this? Is this thing on? Oh, Lord, it is. Oh, goodness gracious. I guess I better get serious. Hey there, Jaguars. How are you? I have missed you so much. I've missed seeing you in the hallway. I've missed hugging your little necks, playing around with you at recess, refereeing your basketball games, and just talking to you and being with you. So your teachers were kind enough to let me come on and teach you social studies this week. And so this week in social studies, I get to teach you about such a fun time in history, in American history and Texas history, but it's an important time that we can all learn from, and that is the Great Depression. So let's get started, okay? I'm going to go ahead and make myself small so you can still see me while I am talking to you. Okay, so this week in social studies, you are going to be learning about the Great Depression. Sorry. The Great Depression was a time in history when the stock market crashed and causing everyone to lose almost everything that they owned, and how they were able to survive this hard time. So, today when you are finished with your lesson, you're going to be able to tell us or me about the Great Depression and how it impacted not only the lives of the people in Texas, but people all over the United States as well. So, let's go. Vocabulary. In the next slide, you're going to learn some very important words that you will need to know to really understand the Great Depression and what it was. Okay, our first word is stock. Stock is a share in a company. That means that when you buy stock in a company, you own part of that company. You can buy as little or as much as you want, and as long as you have the money, you can own it. Thriving is when a business is doing really, really well and they're making lots of money. So businesses that are thriving are the ones that are making lots of money, and then sometimes businesses don't do well, they're not making any money, and so they end up closing down. Okay? And a profit is the money left over after all the bills are paid, all the employees are paid. It's the money left over after all the company business is taken care of. And if you have a lot of money left over when everything is paid for, then you are said to be thriving because you're doing well. Unfortunately, though, sometimes we have what is called a depression, and that's actually what we're going to be learning about this week, the Great Depression. And a depression is a time when business slows down and the prices fall. Not as many people are out shopping. There's not a lot happening for a business, and so they're said to be in a depression. Okay? Sometimes when businesses are not thriving and they're in a depression, they may have to lay employees off or let employees go or fire them, and that means that those employees will now be unemployed, and unemployed means that you do not have a job. You have no income, no money coming into your family or into your household. And sometimes when you're unemployed, you need a little bit of charity. And charity is an organization that helps people to get money or to get the things that they need while they're unemployed during their hard time until they get back on their feet. Okay? So as we're reading, I want you to remember these words and what they mean and how they help you to better understand the Great Depression. During the Roaring '20s, business boomed. People wanted to earn money from thriving American companies, so they bought stocks. People can buy and sell shares in the stock market. When companies make a profit, the prices of their stocks go up. When companies lose money, the prices of their stocks go down. So during the 1920s, businesses were doing really well. Everyone was getting rich. There was lots of money flowing in and out of companies, and it was just a great, great time. Those businesses were said to be thriving. And so because these businesses were doing so well, people wanted to get in on the action and get a piece of these businesses so that they could become rich like the owners of these companies. So they bought what were called stocks or pieces of the company. And so when the companies were making a profit and they were doing really well, the prices of their stocks went up. And so you could sell your piece of stock when the prices are up and you can make quite a bit of money. And then, but sometimes the profits are not so good and you can't sell your profits, or you can't sell your stocks, I'm sorry. And so you may lose money. So it's kind of a back and forth game, because one week they may do really well and the next week they may not do really well. Okay. So it's one of those things where you have to wait and see. You can sell, you can trade, you can do all this other stuff in the stock market. I never do it because I don't like to risk stuff like that. Okay, so then the stock market crashes. Everything is going very, very well for the United States. All these companies are making lots of money. And then, in the matter of a few days, the whole stock market crashed. Okay. To get in on the soaring profits, people in their late 20s spent their savings on stocks. Others borrowed money to buy it. They took out loans against their homes and other possessions. So what they did is everybody wanted a piece of these companies, and so they did whatever they had to do to get the money to buy these stocks. They borrowed money from the bank, and when you borrow money from the bank, you have to pay that money back because that money belongs to somebody. Okay, we put our money in the bank, and sometimes the banks will loan the money to other people, and you're supposed to pay it back. Okay, so they were taking out loans, just, give me this money, I'll pay it back. They were cleaning out their savings account, which their savings account is where you put money, and it's there just in case you need it for a rainy day, or sometimes when you want to go on a vacation or something, you have your savings there. So it's money that you've put back and you can, keep for another day. They were taking out loans on their homes and their other possessions. So if you give me money now, I will give you ownership of my home. And when I pay it back, then I get my home back and you get your money back, or their cars or their possessions. And so this is what people were doing. They were doing whatever they could to get the money. Okay. And everything was going great until the companies began to fail, or the companies began to fall. The stock prices began to fall. So they were losing money. Businesses were not great. And we were in trouble. All those people who had, taken out loans and spent all their money, they were in trouble. Okay. So in October 1929, the stock market crashed because so many people were trying to sell their stocks, and there wasn't enough money to support all this. The stock market just crashed. So people rushed to sell their now worthless stocks. When they couldn't, they found they owed more money than they had. So when they owed more money than they had, because when you borrow money, there's interest on it. So if I borrow $5 from Miss Breedlove and she charges me interest, and she charges me a quarter every day that I don't pay it back, and I don't pay it back for 4 days, I will owe her $6. Okay. So you want to pay the money back as soon as possible, so you owe less interest. Okay. So people couldn't sell their worthless stocks, and when they couldn't, they found out that they owed a lot more money than they had, and they had lost their savings, so they had nothing. They couldn't pay back their loans, and because they couldn't pay back their loans, the banks closed. They didn't have the money to give the people who had their money in the bank that they had saved, and so they had to close their doors, and there was just no money. So people had lost their savings. So many people lost money that companies found it difficult to sell products, because if you don't have money, you can't go shopping, or you shouldn't go shopping. So if you don't have money, you can't go out and you can't do things. And so because of that, the stores were suffering because they weren't selling the things they had. And they stopped hiring people, so people couldn't find employment in other places. And they also had to begin laying off workers, and these workers were now unemployed, and the companies were having to close. So it's kind of like if I worked at Kroger and people stopped coming to Kroger and they quit buying things at Kroger, then the company wasn't making the money to keep paying me to work there, and so they would have to lay me off, so I would be unemployed, and there goes that income that my family was used to having. And I know some people have kind of struggled a little bit with that through Corona, we're not in a depression, but we kind of are right now because we're not getting the money. The money's not coming in the way it was before Corona because businesses have closed. People still have their jobs, but they're not able to work right now because, we've shut everything down to try to battle this illness that's going around. But soon we will all be back to normal. Okay? So trouble in Texas, because it affected Texas as well. Even though we sometimes think that we're unstoppable and we're untouchable, we are not. So at first, many Texans refused to believe that the troubles with the stock market could cause a depression in Texas. But the Great Depression, as it became known, hurt people all across the nation, including Texas and countries around the world, because it's one big web. I mean, we all help each other and deal with each other and work together and stuff. And so, it hurts everybody when there's a depression. Many Texans and people in other states lost their jobs. They found it difficult to buy what they needed to live. People lost their homes. Many went hungry. Some traveled from place to place looking for work or begging for food. Charities tried to help, but they did all that they could. So people were doing whatever they could to support their families. They were going from here to here to here to here to just try to find work each day, like on farms or something like that, wherever they were hiring. And so it was really, really hard. People didn't have enough food. And because they didn't have enough food and they didn't have enough money and they couldn't take care of their basic needs, they had to go to charities, and the charities would try to help them. So that is the Great Depression in a nutshell. Okay, so it was a time in history when everyone pretty much lost all of their money. They were losing their homes, they were losing their jobs, they didn't have food, they couldn't take care of their families. I mean, it impacted everyone from old people to young people. Okay? So now you're going to get to show us what you know. So the stock market crashed in 1929. How did this impact the lives of not only the people of Texas, but the lives of people all over the United States? So here are some sentences that you can use. The stock market crashed in October 1929. The stock market crash in October 1929 impacted the people of Texas by, or people in Texas were impacted by the stock market crash of 1929 because they. So you're going to tell me about the stock market and how its crash impacted the people of Texas and all over the United States and even in other countries. Okay? I look forward to seeing your learning and hearing what you know about the stock market, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!